What would happen if your own perceptions, your deepest beliefs, just didn't line up with the world that everyone else seems to be living in? That right there is the heart of psychosis. And today, we're going to unpack exactly what that means. All right, let's jump right in. Before we can even begin to talk about specific disorders like schizophrenia, we have to get our heads around the fundamental building blocks, the symptoms. Think of these as the essential vocabulary we need for this entire conversation. First things first, what exactly is psychosis? Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. Psychosis is not an illness on its own. It's a symptom, a state of mind where a person loses contact with reality. And this symptom can show up in a bunch of different conditions. Generally speaking, the psychotic symptoms get sorted into three main buckets. You've got positive symptoms, which, add something to a person's experience. Then there are negative symptoms, which take something away. And finally, disorganized symptoms, which basically jumble everything up. Let's take a closer look. Okay, this is a great way to see the difference side by side. Positive symptoms are about an excess of something. It's like adding things that aren't there, like false beliefs or hearing things no one else does. On the flip side, negative symptoms are a deficit. They subtract things we take for granted, like motivation, showing emotion, or even the ability to speak fluidly. And here is a powerful, real-world example of a positive symptom. This is a persecutory delusion. It's not just a passing thought or a suspicion. To the person experiencing this, it feels as real and as true as anything else in their life. It's their reality. All right, so now that we've got our building blocks, our positive, negative, and disorganized symptoms, let's see how they all fit together. Because it's the specific combination, and this is the important part, the duration of these symptoms, that helps doctors tell one psychotic disorder from another. This table makes it so clear. Just look at how critical time is. If the symptoms last for less than a month, it's called brief psychotic disorder. If they stick around for 1 to 6 months, it's called schizoform disorder. But if they persist for 6 months or longer, that's when a diagnosis of schizophrenia is made. Time is truly the deciding factor here. But wait, what if someone only has delusions and none of the other symptoms? Well, that's delusional disorder. And the key differences here are all about plausibility and functioning. With delusional disorder, the belief is often something that could happen, like being followed. And outside of that one delusion, the person can function pretty normally. With schizophrenia, the delusions can be far more bizarre, and the illness impacts every part of a person's life. And just when you think you have it figured out, things can get even more complex. Schizoaffective disorder is basically a hybrid. It's like having the symptoms of schizophrenia and a major mood disorder, like depression or bipolar, all at the same time. The real clincher for a diagnosis is that the psychosis has to be present for at least 2 weeks, even when there are no mood symptoms. Okay, let's talk about that third category of symptoms, which is really a hallmark of schizophrenia. Disorganized symptoms are what happen when a person's thoughts, their speech, their behavior, they just lose their logical scaffolding. Everything becomes jumbled. This right here is a perfect example of what's called loose associations or derailment. Do you see how each sentence is kind of sort of linked to the one before it, but the whole conversation just goes completely off the rails? The thought process doesn't follow a logical thread, which makes having a conversation incredibly challenging. So, we've spent a lot of time defining these really difficult experiences, but what about the solutions? What about recovery? Well, the path forward is a combination of things, from medication to crucial psychosocial support. And I want to be really clear about this. There is absolutely hope. Medication is usually the first line of treatment. The original first-generation drugs that came out in the 50s were a total game changer for treating positive symptoms, but they came with some really severe movement side effects. The newer second-generation medications are much better in that regard, and they can even help with some negative symptoms, but there's a trade-off, as they can have risks like weight gain and metabolic problems. And this brings us to such a critical point. Medication alone is not enough. You can't just medicate the problem away. Real, lasting recovery is about rebuilding a life. And that's where psychosocial support becomes essential. It's about learning skills, connecting with people, and finding a sense of purpose again. Family support can make a world of difference in preventing relapse. A home environment that's full of criticism can be really toxic. So therapies like behavioral family therapy work to flip that script. They educate everyone about the illness, work on improving communication, and really focus on creating a supportive, warm environment. And that support system extends out into the community too. The whole goal of psychosocial rehab is to help people get their independence back. This means everything from practical social and living skills training to help finding a job, to using therapies like CBT to better manage symptoms. It's the whole shebang. And that leaves us with a final really big question. For a long time, treatment was just about stabilizing someone. A bed, a pill, and some rest. But the real goal, the human goal, is so much bigger than that. It's about a full life. So the question for all of us is, how can we shift our focus to help every single person achieve what really matters?